Hello and welcome back to Third Culture Africans. I'm Zeze, your host and the voice behind Third Culture Africans. Welcome to a space where culture, success, and inspiring journeys collide. Whether you're a dream chaser, a culture enthusiast, or just looking for your daily dose of inspiration, you're in the right place. Welcome to another episode of Third Culture Africans. Our guest today is, and I always do this on every episode, where I kind of run down all your cool stats.
No problem.
Okay, so you have been a Forbes Africa 30 under 30. She's an author, an ad exec, PR, entrepreneur, and now notably on the screens across Africa, famously as a Real Housewives of Lagos. So our guest this week is Tania Omotayo.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming. We tried to make this happen
so many times.
We tried to make it happen in London, but we made it happen in Lagos. So I'm super excited actually to be filming this episode in Lagos.
I'm so happy you're here.
We're on home turf. Yes. I'm usually like somewhere cool at my desk at home or like at Soho House. So it's really nice to be here. And we're filming at Impact Hub in Ugwu, which is a great space.
It is.
Co-working space for entrepreneurs. And this is going to be my remote office while I'm here this week.
Okay, cool.
So we can start dial back. So as they say in Nigeria, you have inside lights.
Yeah.
So heritage, German,
Austrian,
English.
No, so it's actually, I'm half Austrian, half Nigerian.
Oh,
my
wow.
mom's Yoruba and my dad's Austrian.
Amazing. Where in Austria?
Vienna.
How cool.
Yeah, so Vienna, and in Nigeria, I'm from Lagos. So I'm not, I don't have a village. It's really weird.
You don't.
I'm actually just
Your
from
villages
the
are
city.
cities. Yeah, Vienna is a stunning country. So I guess early years, born to your Austrian dad, Nigerian mom, grew up in Nigeria.
Yes, till I was, I think, 14. And then I moved to England. I did my GCSEs in London, did my A-levels in Cambridge, and then moved to America for university.
Why America?
Honestly, I was sick and tired of the people I was surrounded by. I felt like everything was repetitive. Like we were all Nigerian. We were all in England.
Yeah.
We all came from like the same kind of families. You know, had like similar. It was just a bit repetitive.
It was much.
And my best friend's mom is actually from Atlanta. So like the summer before, I had gone to visit them. And I was like, it would be so cool if I came here.
Yeah.
Now, when I told my parents, they said no.
And
I'm a rebel.
Yeah.
So I didn't complete my UCAS stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I finished one, so I got into that one, but I never told them. And I was like, well, I didn't get into any university, so now what? So I moved back to Lagos. I did a gap year.
Okay.
And
so they were like, come home.
No, I came home on my
I just
by yourself. It was summer, so like naturally I would be back here.
Okay.
I worked at the Austrian embassy during my gap year. I made so much money. Wow.
Amazing. How did you make all that money?
Because you get paid in euros.
Oh wow. So you were basically working at the embassy in Nigeria. As an expert, getting paid in euros.
Yeah, at what?
18?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What did you do?
So I kept the money. This is really funny.
Yeah.
I kept all the money. Now, when I finally got to Atlanta, I decided to not go to campus, and I stayed in a hotel for I think like 2 weeks. Yeah, I did. I went to Louis Vuitton. I bought 2 bags. I still have them.
No,
because I could never get rid of them. They're just so significant.
Yeah,
I lived. I lived. I really enjoyed myself. I finished my money and then I went.
Oh wow! Then you're like, student life. Here I come.
Oh my God! Yeah, and I think with America, it's really drastic.
Yeah.
It's very different. I also think going to private school in England, you're very spoiled.
I have no clue.
We have chefs, we have cleaners, people make your bed, you do your laundry. And then you go to America and it's like,
boondocks.
Who are you?
Who are you? You're like African. They're like, what?
Yeah, it's very, very different.
So how did you decide in terms of courses? So Bachelor of Arts in Advertising. Did you always know, okay, I wanted to be in some sort of media related career?
Well, no, during my A-levels, I did law.
Oh, wow.
And I failed woefully. I still think I would be a really good lawyer if I didn't have to memorize all those cases.
Okay.
I like to argue, but it was just too much. Like, why do I need to know what happened between Tania and Tania 1997? Like, I don't get it. The books, this one book is like this big. Yeah. It's a bit much.
Yeah.
So I was advised. So I did weird stuff. I did law. I did German, so I could get an A. And I did graphic design, and that's when I kind of, found my interest, and I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. Well, if I can't do law, then let me focus on this. Yeah. And then, I also wanted a school that had business courses and the art. So that's why I chose the Art Institute of Atlanta.
So were your parents like, okay, hold on, let's have this conversation about wanting to change career paths? We've already paid all this money for you.
No, they don't care about that. Yeah, it's like, do whatever you want as long as you're in school. But they obviously wish the school was in England and not 14 hours away where you don't know anybody and you don't have anyone.
Yeah.
But I love that.
What was the experience of like, because I guess Nigerians are an ex-colony of the English culture, right? So there's a lot of like Englishified things that we do. America is a completely different landscape. So like 1 year, African mixed by, you've already taken a detour in the UK and then you land in the US, not in any state.
But in Atlanta.
Which is like,
that was wild,
the mecca of Black African or Black American culture at the time. And this was like circa when everything was like Atlanta. How was that experience?
I definitely had a culture shock. I experienced my first like black on black racism. I didn't know that was a thing till I moved to America. Being light skinned is actually a problem.
Is it?
It is. Like, I had a lot of issues that didn't make sense to me, and it took, people explaining certain situations to me, and I'm like, oh my God.
But light skin mixed or like?
Just light skin. Apparently, there's something called light skin privilege, which I didn't know about.
So in the US,
it's a thing. So, wow, in this day and age of like getting canceled, I don't know how to say this, but like, it's a thing where people feel like if you're light skinned, you get more benefits. Things are easier for you. And obviously, in England, you don't experience that.
No.
And the whole racism thing, it was just really a lot. And I feel like when I was in school there, it just felt like there were a lot of excuses. Like they use these things, as not everybody obviously, but a lot of people do, and I couldn't understand it. The culture as well, just like how we think, how we operate, things are very different. I remember I had a guy try to like talk to me, and I was like, oh no, thank you. And he starts yelling at me like, you're not that fine anyways. I was just trying to talk to you, and you just here acting like a damn fool. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Pause.
I didn't mean, like, what do I do? What are people out God? Like,
when you're used to like, I guess Nigerian is,
and then if you're like rude, they just leave you alone.
And I'm like, baby, now 5 baby, just talk to me. They'll be begging you.
They like start yelling at you.
Full on curse out. Oh my God.
But I had a lot of fun. I'm really happy that I did it. It exposed me to understand humans a little bit differently. Don't get me wrong, there were some wild ratchet ass moments, but other than that, it was really fun.
circa Facebook album of like nights out.
Wow.
The other day I got a Facebook memory, and I was like, like then it was like you basically had albums of like your nights out.
I was that girl. I would put up 100 and something photos in one album
of your nights out, uni days. I remember when Facebook came around, I had
red hair.
Oh god!
And I used to wear like these bright blue contacts that honestly I should have been in jail for wearing because they were really offensive.
But it's like there was this meme that came up the other day that was like, we used to go to the club just like we're going to the office. Like literally wear a blazer,
the belt, the waist belt. Those like I can't even call them a block heel. It's an insult to the block heel. Those heels were
insane.
Okay. Yeah.
So you come back to Nigeria, finish your degree, and so at this point you go into media and PR, working in Nigeria and Lagos specifically. Then you start modeling, all at the same time.
Well, no, yes and no. The modeling happened by accident. So I came back. I started working for a man called Mr. Paul Okoye. Okay. He, at the time, was handling all the Pepsi, MTN, like all the big brands. He was handling their PR, doing their endorsements, all of that. So I became his head of PR and I did all that. Now, in doing all of this, I had also been thrown into fame. And at that time, there wasn't anything like an influencer. They were not, that was not a thing. This was
the beginning of it. If you think about it, it was the beginning. Like I remember, like vividly, because obviously in the UK, you already have those experiences, right? We had The Sun, we had Page 3, we had all of this like celebrity, like news of the world, like, so there was like some sort of Tatler was like social, there was some sort of existence, right? Along with this. But in Africa, it wasn't a thing. It was just the pictures from the Owambes and the wedding.
And City
ovation.
Yes.
So this was like the beginning of...
when the blogs came out.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess elephant in the room, you had quite a public relationship with Wizkid. Was Wizkid, right? First album, if I remember, album. Okay, so now you guys are the young it couple, because we had seen like young celebrity couples across the world, but you guys were the quote unquote first African young it couple. Like you're modeling, he's a singer, and then you're trying to have a career. Yeah, but you couldn't make money off of the fame you were getting. Or could you at that point?
I did. I did make a lot of money. Okay. Because the brands were paying. Yes. Just by extension of, the hype at that time. Yeah. But it was weird because, there were no influencers. There was no guide. I didn't actually know what I was doing. Yes. But I did get some really big opportunities. And I worked with some really big brands and amazing brands. And that just kind of started everything leading up to here.
Oh, wow. So at that point, did you kind of go, hold on, light bulb, I can do multiple things?
Yeah, because I had a 9-to-5 the whole time.
But this is it, right? So someone would go, why were you working?
Why was I working? Well, my dad, I idolized my dad, and he would do like 25 million things at the same time. So I always grew up watching someone do all of these things. And I genuinely enjoyed my job. I genuinely enjoyed working with Mr. Paul. And I also enjoyed, doing these other things, but these other things didn't come every day. Yeah. Right. And when I did move back from America, I was home for about 6 months before I went back for my graduation. And honestly, I was really bored. Until now, I still do 1,000,001 things. I'm not the kind of person that can sit down and honestly do nothing. It doesn't work for me. I would drive myself insane. I have to work. I have to have multiple jobs. I have to have multiple activities and multiple things that I'm doing. That's just what keeps me going.
Amazing. So then you ride the wave till the wheels fall off. And then there's the public breakup. How did you handle in that moment? Because there's like, we watch a lot of shows, right? It's that all of a sudden you're all over the papers, and then now all of a sudden you're all over the papers for everything you don't want to be all over the papers for. How did you handle that transition back into, okay, stepping into I am Tania without this really famous person? How was that transition for you?
I think the number one thing I would say is what I'm most grateful for is that I never came out on social media to say anything till now. Like, honestly, you can say all sorts of things and chances of me responding are slim to none. It just saves you from a lot because if I had done that, there'll be so many more stories, but it died down way quicker than it should have because there was nothing to back it up, you know? And transitioning, I mean, I still had I had started another job actually at the time. Wow. Still within the same industry, but another job. I was just about to start Ziva, I think. So I had so much going on as well that there was no time to kind of like stop and think or stop and try and figure things out. It was just, going.
So you go from being in a media career and then decide, okay, I'm going to be a fashion designer. Or was there a conscious choice to going, okay, I love fashion. I can see a gap. This is the gap I want to fill. What was the thought process of then, because there's one thing working for someone and then deciding, okay, you know what, I'm going to go out on my own. How did you kind of get to that point where you're like, okay, I can do this on my own?
Right. So I never thought I was going to quit my job to do Ziva because when I started, I still had a 9-to-5. I started Ziva because when I moved back, there was no H&M, there was no Zara, there was no, whatever else, New Look, Topshop. And I remember wanting to go to my friend's dad's birthday. And I went to a big designer and I bought a dress. Well, my dad bought me the dress, and it was like, I think 75K or 100K at that time was like a lot of money. And I'm like, why are these things expensive? And it wasn't even that cute. Like, it was giving granny vibes, but that was just all I could find. And I was like, you know what? There has to be, other stores. And there was nothing at that time. There was one store, but I didn't like the quality of the stuff. And then I was like, you know what, let me try. And I tried like 2-3 times and I failed. I couldn't find the right tailors. I also didn't really know what I was doing because I knew nothing about fashion. So I had to figure it out on the go. And then I was introduced to now one of my closest friends, and she had just started her own fashion brand. And she was like, you know what, I'll take you to the market. I'll show you where I buy my fabric. I'll show you where the factories are so you can start. And if not for her, I don't think I would have started Ziva because she forced me. Every day she's like, so have you done this? Have you done that? And I did it. We did a joint pop-up. Sold out of almost everything. And it was like, you know what? You were just lucky because of who you are and because you have fame.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of doubted myself a bit, but I still kept my job. And then I had to quit because it was becoming too much. I was doing everything myself. I had no staff.
So designs, dealing with the tailors.
Orders.
Sending it back, processing orders, sending orders out.
I had no store. I had nothing. So everything was in my trunk, in my car. I would go to work, do orders, run outside, give the delivery guy. It was a bit ridiculous. And I was like, you know what, before they fire me.
But at this point, everyone thinks you're running this big fashion brand. But no one knows, like, behind the scenes, you are every department. Did you have aliases? When I started, I used to have aliases. Like, I had alias emails.
I would reply in like third person, like, oh, she's gonna oh, hi, ma. Okay, we're this, we're that. Okay. When they ask, like, what's your name? I'll make up a random name. But then I actually stopped doing that because I realized when people had issues, when they thought they were speaking to staff, even till today, they're very rude.
Yeah.
And they yell on the phone. But once I come on and I'm like, oh, hi, it's Tania.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh, really?
I didn't mean to. I'm like,
even
no,
people you
keep
know?
the same energy. I've never experienced it with someone I know, to be honest. Just like, customers. Yeah, so Ziva was actually supposed to just be for myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? It'll be small. It'll be something I do on the side.
Yes.
Never in a million years would I have thought that it would get to this point.
Oh, wow. Helping you be smart with your money and finances is something we take pride in at Third Culture Africans. That's why we've partnered with Quidco, UK's #1 cashback platform, helping people to get something extra every time they shop online. With cashback earnings on over 5,000 brands, all you need to do is browse or search Quidco for great cashback rates, huge discounts and vouchers at all of your favorite brands, and get a £15 new bonus credit when you join with our link. Earning cashback on your online shopping is easier than ever. Just hit the link below. So you started Labor of Love. Then at some point in the process, you then decide to include kids. So you start with women.
Yeah.
And then kids become a part of the journey. At which point do you then decide kids should be something you're doing? Is this before you become a mum or after you become a mum? Okay, so you become, we all do that, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, so you become a mum and you're like, pause.
Kids is also by mistake, to be honest. COVID, actually. Initially, I had said I was going to do Mommy and Me.
Okay.
And then during COVID, I would order all these random things from Amazon for Sarai, and I would post it on my Snapchat.
Yeah.
And I would get so many messages, and I used to send the links. And then after maybe the 20th person, I was like, you must be dumb. You need to start selling these things. So I would just order 5 of everything or 10 of everything, and they would sell out in a day. And I had this extra little room at my old store, and I'm like, you know what? Why don't I do a kids toy store and clothing store and just do them both? And I did. And now we have a huge Ziva Kids store.
Amazing. And so while doing that, that wasn't enough.
When you list it out like this, I kind of sound crazy.
It still wasn't enough. Because we then decide that we're going to write a lovely book. And the book is not just any book, but it's a book named after your daughter, 1. And 2, the book is really focused on something that you've touched on today, but being of mixed heritage, navigating, in your case, you've navigated three different cultures.
Yeah.
How much of your journey was influenced by you writing that book for your daughter? Because I can see how you would want to write something for her to navigate the world with, but do you mind us I guess I would love to talk more about the inspiration behind writing the book.
Okay, so for primary school, I went to a German school. I was one of, I think maybe there was 1 black kid, and then there were maybe 5 or 6 mixed race kids. And all the other moms were very German, but my mom wasn't. So I was the most, English out of all of them.
Yes.
And I got bullied, a lot, severely, to a point of actual ridiculousness. But then when I went...
because you were mixed?
Honestly, it's not clear. I can't really explain it, but there were certain factors, being mixed, not being as German as them. And when it was summertime, we would go to England. Everybody else would go to Germany.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where my mom had to start organizing with my friends' moms for me to fly to Germany for a week so I could buy all the supplies that they had. Because I was the outcast.
Yes, because you would come back with English stuff.
Exactly, and they're completely different.
Yes, very different.
It's unbelievable. The school bags are boxes in Germany. But then in England, you have regular
Yes.
bags, fancy or whatever. So it just became an issue. Even like snacks. I didn't have German snacks. There were just so many things. Yeah. So I got bullied there. And then I went to the British school, and all of a sudden I'm this damsel who's light skinned, and I didn't understand it because no boy ever spoke to me. Yes. And then I went from being this outcast to being this, who's this? Yeah. I did not understand. It took me a really long time to understand that. And then even within that, it's like, oh, but you're not Nigerian. Yeah. You're white. No.
Pause. Identity.
You're not white, you're black. You're not black, you're white. Like, who am I? Where do I belong? Because I'm not white and I'm not black. I don't belong in both categories. Growing up, I sort of always felt like, okay, so what are you? Yes. Like, where do you belong? And I feel like in this day and age, I feel like most of us are more intentional with our parenting. Yes. So I felt like it was very important to have something, like if you read the same book every day, it sort of resonates in your mind, like if you hear the same story every day, somewhere deep down, it will stick. Yeah. And the book is a conversation starter for kids. Yes. For wanting to ask. Like I had my first book launch in London and coincidentally, one of the moms was like, oh my God, I'm so happy about this because my child thinks he's British. Yes. But this helps us talk about where you're actually from. Yeah. And, I think being in America as well, I used to get into arguments every day. Where are you from? I'm from New York. No, you're not. No, you're not. Your name is Kunle. You cannot be from New York. Yeah. Well, my parents are from Nigeria, but I'm from New York. Yeah. No, you're not. Your parents cannot be from somewhere and you will be from somewhere else. It's not humanly possible. Can we have some sense? Can we, what are we doing? Yeah. Jokes aside, I got into arguments every day.
But I think one of the themes around the show that was important for me was to, one, take our stories further, two, document them, and three, this question around identity. Like, even in a country like Nigeria, where there are 56 states and so many more versions of Nigeria, this question of identity is constant for everyday life, for all of us. So you're either if I think of myself, I'm not Nigerian enough, and I'm not necessarily English enough because I don't really see myself. So also I have an English passport and I've lived most of my life there, but I don't see myself being I'm a British Nigerian. Right. In my mind, it just doesn't, I'm Nigerian in my mind. And I'm like, okay, this identity conversation tends to happen a lot. Yeah. But it's not one that we're having intently with a clear consciousness of what does this mean within us and outside of us when we are considering what our identity is. And I guess the one thing you did with Soraya's Culture Day was to really start the conversation quite early on. I have a 4-year-old, well, my 5-year-old now, but at 4 years old, I had to have a conversation with her about racism. And I didn't think I would have that conversation with my child until much later. But at 4 years old, I'm talking about hair, someone saying her brown skin is dirty. And you're having these conversations. And at first I felt underqualified to even have the conversation because as an adult, I barely deal with it, let alone helping a young person navigate their identity. And then, you start looking for books on hair and you start looking for books on everything to do with your identity. And it doesn't matter where you are, from what I can tell. You can be in Lagos, you can be in Kenya, you can be in Kinshasa, you can be anywhere, but this conversation around our identity is conscious and continues. At what point do you feel like you were able to step away from that and you were then able to kind of go, okay, I'm okay in my own skin? Was there a pivotal moment for you where you were able to do that?
To be honest, I never felt like I wasn't okay in my skin. I grew up quite confident. So I wouldn't sit here and say I ever felt like I wasn't. I think I've always really been, but I did notice that, I wasn't. It was an argument, like, oh, you don't belong here, you don't belong there. So I wouldn't say I wasn't.
There was never a moment where you kind of went, I don't really care.
No, like I never cared because, I feel like growing up in a 2-parent household with both people being very confident from where they're from, it's kind of hard to, feel some kind of, I've always been very proud to be Nigerian, very proud to be Yoruba. I speak Yoruba, I am Yoruba, I eat Yoruba. Everything about me is Yoruba, but then everything about me is also very Austrian. So I've never cared.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So then, because you just couldn't do anymore, hold on, this show is about giving you your flowers, so I'm not going to miss anything. Okay. I have to talk about all of it.
Okay.
So then you decide, okay, I've done enough, right, in your 30s. And then you decide, you know what, I think I'm going to go on. Okay, actually, I would say I think you're going to. Did you decide to go on the show, or did they come and find you?
They came to find me.
Okay.
I got the call last year. So I'm a real, devoted Housewives fan.
Okay.
I love the Housewives of Atlanta. I loved Housewives of Lagos. There's certain Housewives that I like Beverly Hills. I don't watch all of them, but the ones I watch, I stan, I die for. So when I got the call, I was like, oh my God, like me. And then I went for the, the meetings and stuff like that. There were a lot of Zooms, a lot of meetings, lots of back and forth. Then I had a moment of, are you sure? Are you, because I'm not a fighter, the show is about a certain narrative, you know, and I'm the complete opposite.
Yes.
But I wanted to challenge myself. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? Let me try. You know, one, it's a great opportunity for my business. Yes. It's a great opportunity for the book because the book is in there a lot. Well, it's coming. It hasn't aired yet.
Don't worry. This goes up
fine.
After.
Okay. So I was just like, would it be smart to give up this opportunity, even though you don't know how it's going to work out for you? Because it can go left. It can go completely left and it can go completely right. And I was like, well, you don't really care what people think about you anyways, because you've never come out to clear up anything about you. You know, so genuinely, I don't give a damn what you think. So I was like, you know what? Let's try. If it goes wrong, it goes wrong. If it goes right, it goes right. But I am going to try. I am going to challenge myself. It's an international platform. I have a lot to promote. I'm not jobless coming here just trying to look for fame. I actually have things to talk about. I actually have things to show that I have achieved. I'm only 31. I've done so much.
Are you just?
Yeah, I just turned 31.
Oh my God. That is amazing. Yeah. Hey, high jump.
Ridiculous. So why was I getting married and having a kid at 26? I don't know.
No, but here's the thing. I got married at about 27, but I waited on the kid thing because the kid thing was I was like, this is too adult. Yeah. This is too adult.
Very adult.
I was like, I don't know. Even now I'm like, am I someone's mom?
It's weird.
I have moments and I'm like, I am your mother.
Yeah. And you can't get rid of them.
Yeah. No, literally. Okay. So the show calls you Housewives fan.
I'm a huge Housewives fan. My favorite one is Real Housewives of Atlanta, Lagos, Beverly Hills. So I have a select few that I absolutely love. So I was more excited in the beginning because I loved the show. So I was like, oh my God, can you imagine a show I've watched for so many years? They want you on there. But then after a couple of months, there's back and forth meetings.
Had you seen the first season at that
Yes,
point?
I had.
So you knew what to kind of expect?
What's really funny is like, it seems like I forgot.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't think about like the fights and the drama. Like that didn't cross my mind. Honestly, not till I started to get cold feet.
Gosh, girl. Like when you're watching.
The excitement was a bit much. So I didn't think about that part. And then when the excitement wore off, I was like, oh, wait,
okay.
How are you going to go?
But as a spectator, when you're watching, you're like, oh my God, you definitely should have seen that coming. So were you not like in that moment, did you think, okay, I'm going to get on there. I know the game. I'm going to go in and do what I need to. Your focus was really about getting the message out.
Yeah, I wanted to, I felt like, when you don't have anything going for yourself, then you are going to be caught up in a lot of things that you shouldn't be caught up in, like fights and drama, because really you have nothing else to talk about. But, I have Ziva, I have the book, I have all these other things that I'm doing. I just felt like it would be a great opportunity to put my brand and my book and all these things I'm working on like a global platform. At the end of the day, it's an international show. No matter what you feel about the show, it has its the facts. It's an international show. A lot of people watch the show. So I feel like my biggest thing at the time was I like to be in control, and which is also why I never speak out, on social media and stuff like that, because I like to control my narrative, but then I also don't care what you think. As long as I know the truth and the people around me know the truth, honestly, you can think whatever you want. But then I was like, okay, so what if it goes left? Because on a show like that, it can go left. It can go extremely right and it can go extremely left. Like, are you prepared for it to go left if it does? And then I started to get
how much of it is scripted?
So none of it is actually scripted.
Okay, so it can really go left.
It can really go left. I mean, there's certain things that are guided, I would say, but I wouldn't say that anything is scripted. Obviously, if everybody has to meet up, someone has to plan it, the show has to get involved, like things like that. So that's what I mean by like, but it's not, but there's certain instances where you are advised to do this or that, but like a script, like, oh, say this, there's none of that. So
you're at liberty to any woman's whim that day?
Pretty much.
And obviously the show is happening, or the show is filmed in real time. So at this point, when we watch it, we see everybody's version of an event.
No. It's because I don't know what I'm allowed to say. Okay, so it's also heavily edited.
Okay.
Because we also have to be realistic. We're filming for 12 hours.
Every day?
No, let's say an event, for example.
12 hours?
It can be 12 hours, 7 hours, 5 hours, 3 hours. I think the least amount of time I shot for was maybe like 3-4 hours.
So you're doing all this and running Ziva at the same time?
Yeah, so Ziva, actually, I didn't realize how many hours we're going to go into the show. We filmed for 6 months. And a lot of days I had no life to do anything else, because I would get home and I was tired and like, I need to rest. I have to be a mom. I have to be a wife. I have so many other things I have to do. But somehow I was able to juggle everything.
Yes.
But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see the outcome, because your life is essentially in the hands of the editors.
Okay.
So your 4 hours that you filmed is going to be shown for 2 minutes. So what part of the 4 hours are you going to get in the 2 minutes?
So do you guys get to see like an edit before?
We watch it how you watch it.
So as it comes out, so you're basically watching it like, oh my God, like how we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so I was telling you off camera that I wasn't well. So when the show came out, I wasn't well.
Yeah.
I had severe malaria and it affected my vision. So my vision was very blurry. I wasn't on my phone. I didn't watch the show for the first 4 episodes.
So you missed the initial.
I would just see clips on like TikTok.
Wow.
And like being dragged somewhere. And I'm like, what have I done? I had no idea why I was being dragged. I hadn't seen the show until just a couple of days ago. And I watch it and I'm like, Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting edit.
From a professional perspective, as an entrepreneur, right? You go on the show to leverage what you're doing on a show like that. How much of it helps or hampers based on you having now a few episodes out? Have you seen, like, okay, this has been a great move for me. Maybe next time I'll think of doing this slightly differently.
I'm trying to think of what to say without putting the show's business out there.
From an entrepreneurial perspective for you.
So right now, I feel like, yes, my brand has gotten, visibility. It has been shown. It has been aired. I'm in my Ziva clothes sometimes. So in that regard, I have put my brand out there. You know, like, they haven't shown it yet. No, they have shown the book once, but then I have something else with the book. It's there, whether you hate me, whether you love me, you've seen my book. Whether you hate me or you love me, you've seen my brand. And, what people don't realize is, when all these PR people say there's no such thing as bad publicity, it's a thing. It's a real thing. Now, what happens is, you don't like me, but then at some point, maybe a couple of months later, you see a Ziva piece. Or you may even come to the store with the mindset of, let me even go and see what that one has done, so I can talk about her on the internet. But then you end up buying something or falling in love with the pieces. And then once you buy one, you can't really stop. It has also helped with some of the wives who, like Yabo especially, she wears Ziva all the time now. Every event she goes to, she's wearing a Ziva piece. I wouldn't have had that if I wasn't on the show.
You don't have to take lots of coins. Lots of coins.
And she's tagging, like, she's so supportive. It's really, really amazing. And she's paying her full money. Like, I just get messages from the store, like, oh, Yaba was here. She sends her regards. Like, it's actually amazing. So yes, from an entrepreneurial point of view, it has helped push my brand.
If you had to give anyone advice around leveraging fame, media to enhance their brands, because everyone, but like most of, I guess, the people that listen to our shows are entrepreneurs or people who are within their careers trying to grow. If you had to give anyone advice, because you've done it now for a few decades, right? A good 10 years plus, where you've navigated your career alongside being somewhat in different forms in the public eye, whether that's on social media, whether that's now with the show or previously. What would you say are the three most important things? And we're in the era of, marketing. This is it. There's no other time than creating a personal brand and having that, leverage that to sell the next thing to the next thing. If you had to give anyone advice on how they could do that, or tips on how to navigate that, what would that be?
Honestly, I think the first thing would be to decide, for example, if it's fame, to decide why you want it. Fame it's kind of like drugs. Okay. It gets very addictive, and it also gets very lonely. Okay. So you have to decide, also makes you a bit insecure. You kind of have to decide why you want, the fame, because that will help you navigate what you're supposed to do. Now, with juggling everything, I feel like in this day and age, you could post something on TikTok and be the next sensation, right? You have to know what you're doing, and you have to be confident within yourself before you can embark on that. Because honestly, the good part is really good, but the bad part is really bad. Because when you're out there, everyone has the right to an opinion. And I think it's very important. And this is what has saved me. Well, not in the beginning. I used to cry in the beginning. But then one day I read an article.
I love how you said that so seriously, by the way.
It's true. I read an article about myself that I didn't know who my father was. and I didn't have a car. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a house.
About you.
Yeah, like 10 years ago. And I was in my car reading the article. And I was actually on my way to my dad's house.
Yeah.
So what was funny was I'm sitting here reading that I don't have a car while I'm in my car.
Yeah.
I'm also reading that I don't know who my father was.
While you're on the way to your dad's house.
While I'm on my way to my dad's house. So I'm like, okay, so that's the day my life changed. Because I'm like, they don't know anything. First of all, my surname is not Omotayo.
Yeah.
Let's start there. The media made my name, Tania Omotayo. That's not my surname. That's my middle name.
What is your surname?
My surname is Teller.
Wow.
Yeah, but they were too lazy to research anything.
So you're like, literally, it just stuck with your middle name.
Yeah, well, also when, the fame happened, I was like, if they're going to talk about me, nobody in my family is called Omotayo. So
this is helpful.
That's just me. Attack me, do whatever you want to do with me, but it doesn't affect my immediate family. And I'm very protective over them. So it just stuck. So it's like my stage name.
What's Beyonce's one? Beehive and Sasha Fierce.
Exactly. So that's like my thing. Yeah. And now sometimes I forget. Yeah. Like unofficial documents I write, I'm like, babe, what are you doing?
Pause.
That's not your name. So that day my life changed because I realized that you cannot take what anyone says about you on the internet seriously. First of all, you're probably in some shack somewhere. Your life is not together because I barely have enough hours in a day to sort out my life. So I cannot imagine myself sitting behind some keyboard typing rubbish about someone that I've never met, probably will never meet. So you have to be very strong. It's really easy to say, it's very hard to do. So my advice, you said 3 things. 1, know who you are, be confident in who you are before you embark on this journey, just in case things don't go according to plan. 2, anything you put your mind to is possible. I've had people tell me, oh, you're doing too much. Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? Especially like the show, why would you want to be on the show? You're not, you don't fight, you don't do this, you don't do that. But I'm like, I've loved Housewives for so long. So it blew my mind that a show that I've watched for so many years actually wants me there. Whether I fit in or not is not your business. Do you understand? That has nothing to do with you. This is something that I've accomplished for myself. Does it work or not? I don't know. But it's for me, it's not for you. It has nothing to do with you. So don't let anyone try to, put you down or make you feel any kind of way. If you want to do it, do it. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, move on to the next thing. And number 3, do you. Do whatever makes you happy. Live for yourself, not for anyone else. I feel like when we get to Hello Heaven, nobody's going to ask you what I did. They're going to focus on you. So make sure it makes you happy. Life is short.
Amazing. Quick fire questions, because I do them on every episode. Biggest misconception people have about your jobs? Plural.
I don't know, misconception about my jobs. I guess
being on Housewives, for instance. You must be a gazillionaire now. Are you helping all your village people?
Well, yeah. People think you have way more money than you have all the time. No matter what you're doing, they're like, I don't believe you. So that.
Last thing you searched for on Google?
John Gotti, the New York Mafia, because I was just watching it on Netflix. It's so good. So I wanted to see, and then did his family continue? Are they still in business?
Just in case you decide to become a mob boss one day.
I'm really nosy. I Google one thing and then I check for 100 things after.
How are you different than last year?
Wow. I feel like this has been my most difficult year, but my best year. After I had my daughter, it took me a really long time to feel like myself again. I didn't start feeling like myself again till the beginning of last year. So I feel like last year was my transition year, and this year is
No one talks about
I'm
it.
here.
No one talks about it. It's a rebirth of you, the person.
So annoying, yeah.
Your body's not the same. You look in the mirror like, knock, knock. Who are you? Like, who is in there? It's not me.
I struggled. I really.
Yeah.
I also had like postpartum depression. I didn't know.
So you didn't know that that's what you were experiencing at the time, and no one around you could do that.
So I'm really good at hiding.
Okay.
My emotions. And just being okay for everyone else. And when I knew there was a problem I was starting to like hallucinate. So I sat down on the bed and I fell on the floor because there was no bed there.
Oh my God.
It was like a bit.
So it's like the sleep deprivation,
everything
plus everything.
It was I'll be crying every day. I would see like my friends do something that honestly I would never go to, and I would start to weep. Like, oh my God, they didn't invite
Everyone has a life.
Nobody cares about me anymore. I went away to have this baby, and now like everyone has forgotten I exist.
Yeah. I know it, girl. Who influenced you? Who's your biggest influence?
I think my dad.
Okay.
Definitely my dad. Yeah.
What do you wish you knew?
Honestly, as of today, with the current exchange rate, I wish I knew the codes to the CBN. Honestly, that's like,
yeah. Give me the code.
I wish I knew that.
You should have, when they were giving you that contract, you should have said, pause, maybe euros. I'm an expat. Oh my goodness. Well, Tania, thank you so much.
Thank you for
joining us on this week's episode of Third Culture Africans that we're filming in Lagos.
Yes.
Nigeria.
That's right.
Happy to be on home soil. We've got more episodes that we're filming in Lagos throughout the week, and excited to have you here.
Thank you. I'm so happy that I did this. I had a lot of fun. This was great.
Thank you.
It was actually really good.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you. If you've loved this episode or any of the episodes from Third Culture Africans, your support in making the show bigger will be much appreciated. Share it with a friend, comment on social media, join the newsletter community over at thirdcultureafricans.com, or leave us a review where you're listening to the show. Thank you, and until next time.